Alright, welcome back, guys. So today we're going to be going over our duty belt setups. This is our actually second time recording this video.
That'd be the third if you go into this again.
That'd be the third. But anyway, so we're just going to kind of cover how we set up ours and kind of the pros and cons to each specific item we have on our belt and how it's set up. He's LE, I'm not. I work in private security, so our setups are going to be different. And just kind of a disclaimer, he has more freedom with his belt, how he can set up his. Mine, I have specific things I have to use on mine, or I can't have anything at all. So, but again, that's kind of, I guess, for every department has that kind of stipulations on what you can and can't have on your belt. Like, for instance, both of ours are basket weave because everything we have on there has to be basket weave. So, just a consideration. Basket weave isn't necessarily the nicest thing on the end of the planet. I kind of don't like it. But
I don't hate it.
I don't hate it, but it just looks like 1970s.
Right.
And I don't appreciate that. So, but anyways, so all that aside, we're just going to kind of cover ours, and I'm going to go, let Rhett go first because I'm a gentleman.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
How's it going, everybody? So, start off with a belt. This is a Bianchi belt, brand belt, and so Bianchi's actually owned by Safariland, which I didn't know until recently. I like the buckle. First thing I was talking about the buckle on this belt. If you can pick which belt you want, I would recommend this belt because it's thick enough, because it has Velcro on the inside too. It's thick enough to where if you put stuff on it, they don't slide around. So this stuff doesn't slide around all that much. If you get a belt like this, it's like thinner leather and it's slick on both sides.
Yep.
You get your stuff and you like move it around and it'll slide back and forth and it's hard to keep it all in the same place, that kind of thing.
Yeah, you have to rely on keepers a lot more.
And the buckle, you probably can't see it 'cause it's too far away, but it's a plastic buckle that's got some snaps, but it's got a little I don't know what you would call that.
A little safety.
A little
release.
safety on it, I guess. A release. You have to press that down before it'll unsnap. So I guess that's kind of a safety mechanism, so someone can't like strip it off of you in a fight.
Mm. So you can't accidentally, unbuckle your belt buckle and have everything flop on the ground.
Some of the main principles of a duty belt is most of the things you need to be able. These are your tools, right? A lot of stuff on here can save your life, or keep you from being hurt or whatever. So you need to be able to reach these things with both hands if you can. I can get this tourniquet where it is. I can get it with both hands. I have a pair of my handcuffs situated to where I can get a pair with either hand if I had to. This is obviously up front, right next to the front of my belt. So this is my pair of handcuffs I use the most. They're Smith & Wessons. They're hinged. I like hinged because they're more controllable.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you're get them out, if you got to get them out in a hurry and get them on somebody, you don't have to sit there and mess around with, I got to get mine in a certain facing way. And they're spinning around, you're trying to grab them and get them situated in your hand right, and that kind of thing. You can just pull these out and put them on somebody.
So you mentioned earlier in the other video that we had to delete, but why do you carry two pairs?
Well, mostly because that's just kind of the way they do it. Like, you just carry two pairs of handcuffs.
Mm.
A lot of times you'll have to handcuff more than one person on a scene. I've arrested two people on the same call before. If you pull them out, and this has happened before in a McDonald's lobby, actually, you'll go to handcuff somebody and they'll say, I'm not going to let you handcuff me. And they'll go to fighting and try to buck up on you. So you'll try to, you want to free both hands to, get control of them or whatever. And so you have to drop his pair of handcuffs and you get them under control and you're like, where'd my handcuffs go? You're like, oh, I got another pair right here. Boom, you pull out the other pair of handcuffs. And a lot of times you'll end up having to pull them off with whatever hand, right? Because you're trying to control somebody with this hand or this hand, so you got to go with this pair of handcuffs, this pair of handcuffs, whatever. The gun, this is a pretty standard law enforcement staple. It's a Safariland level, it's a 6300 series, I think. Level 3, the gun in it is a Glock 17 Gen 4 with Surefire X300 UA, because I like speed. Light is a Surefire Peacekeeper, I think it's 600 lumens. It's a good light. Rechargeable batteries, goes in a Safariland Universal 1-inch holster. All the pouches, the glove pouch is actually Bianchi. Handcuff pouch, mag pouch, Holster is all Safari Land. Tourniquet's a Gen 7 cat tourniquet. And yeah, it's all set up wrong. I've got
Turn so they can see it.
I've got the Velcro across it, blocking it off, and I know that's the wrong way to do it. But if you actually use these every day, if you wear it, because I wear this belt almost every day for 12 hours a day, and most of the time you spend it in sitting in your car, the seat on your car will eat this Velcro. It'll be gone after a couple months. So you put that over it, protects it. I have it set up to where the slick side of the tourniquet is up against my body because the Velcro on this will in turn eat your uniform.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, people say a lot of stuff when they don't actually use the things, and then they. I'm not saying that's not, like, you've got your set up the right way. I'm not saying that's wrong. It's obviously faster, and it's probably the proper way to do it.
Yeah.
But.
Well, and I will say this, like, and I agree 100% with what he's saying. There's a textbook way of doing something, the correct way of saying something, and then there's the way
you actually do it.
Way you actually do it, because again, like, you can't just go buy a new uniform like every month or two because it keeps eating through them. Especially if your department pays for it, they're gonna be pretty ticked off at you. So what I do for mine specifically, I'm just not to steal your thunder here, but I have mine set up correctly like this whenever in the summer, whenever I don't have to wear a jacket. So right now, this is covering the inside. There's a flat right here, so that protects my uniform. And then this side, since it's like right on my left side of my hip, it's actually not coming in contact with my car seat because that was before I had it on the back side of me. So I had to move it so it wouldn't have that problem, so I could set it up right. But whenever I wear a jacket in the winter, whenever it starts getting colder, I will take this and I will cover this up because this will get snagged on the, I don't know what the material is. It's like, what's the fleece? So the inside of the jacket is basically a type of fleece, and this will get caught up on it. So if I have to move around, it's just snagging constantly on that fleece, which will in turn, like you were saying, eat the Velcro. So there's the correct way to do things, and then there's the way that's, I guess, practical.
Yeah.
So.
Like I said, if I really had to, I've practiced it a little bit. I haven't practiced it a lot, but I can draw my gun the way it's set up with the hood and everything. I can get the hood down and draw the gun out with my left hand while it's on me. So it's on my right side of the body. I can reach over and draw it out. So, and if you had to, you can grab the belt, grab your pen, grab your body, grab the belt, and twist like that, and you can move the belt around.
Move the belt to your front. Yep.
And get the gun out or whatever. But it's a pretty standard setup. You'll notice I don't have pretty much the only tool I have on my belt is my gun because my department doesn't issue batons for some reason, and the tasers we don't have enough of them for everybody to take home, so we have them in the office and we just check them out at the beginning of each shift and put them back in.
So you would normally have a taser?
I would normally, if I was at work, I have a taser out here. I don't like the cross draw tasers. A lot of people, you'll see them, they'll have them set up like this, so you reach over and you draw it out with your right hand. So when you draw it out like cross draw, I don't like that. Probably because I'm thick and it's hard for me to reach over there.
2 C's.
Hard to reach over there and get on. It's easier, like if I was just in civilian clothes, I reach over and hit my other side of my body fine. When you have a vest and you have your belt on, you're like,
you're trying to reach around everything,
and you get it. Well, I found one holster in the room today in the office today that has set up for a left-handed person. So I just put it on my right side and I just draw it out like I would this gun.
Draw it with your left hand?
I just draw it with my left hand out like that.
Okay.
So that's something to consider. If you have to do that, you need to leave space on your belt for that. You'll notice I have this is moved around, but I usually have my light pushed up closer to my mags, and my radio further back, so there's a gap right there for my taser to go. So yeah, car keys.
So I notice you don't have keepers on there. What's your inner belt?
My inner belt is the 511, that standard 511 Rudiger's build or whatever they call it.
Is there Velcro on it?
Yeah, well, on the outside, no. It's just a straight belt, and I just put keepers around it. There are probably better inner belts, but it's the inner belt I have. So.
Do you use keepers with that to hold everything?
Yeah, I have keepers. I have put keepers around here. I use keepers. Personally, I like to use keepers to divide all my equipment up because it also helps keep. Like I have keepers on either side of my glove pouch here to keep it all centered, and I have a keeper on either side of my holster to keep it so I get it in the same place and doesn't move around when it shifts and that kind of thing. So I use keepers to keep all my equipment in place where it is, so it's all in the same place and it's consistent. All that kind of thing.
And that's important with specifically like holsters or that. Like mine actually clamps onto the belt and like screws down. It actually holds it in place, so you wouldn't need a keeper necessarily. Now, granted, I still do, But like holsters, they're more like they kind of slide onto the belt. Keepers are essential for that same reason, so your gun is always in the same place.
We were talking in the first video about retention for these. You can't obviously adjust the retention for the handcuff pouches. And these, I've never had any trouble with these coming out. Well, actually, that's not true. I was wrestling one guy, and I guess I tried to pick him up, and because he was playing the dead weight game where they just lay there and they want you to carry him everywhere. They don't want to get in the ambulance, that kind of stuff. So, I guess my pair of handcuffs popped out one time. But that's because it got snagged on, I think, something that he was wearing, and it got pulled out. I've had these come out before, because once you use them a little bit, the retention will come loose slowly. And it's kind of a nervous fidget of mine where I'll be sitting in my car and I have to do this with my mags. And so I've noticed that over time the retention on my magazine pouches will come loose and I'll have to get a wrench and retighten it. But I've had these come out while I was fighting people before, and I'll go backtracking my flashlight. Oh, there's my mag. You know.
So there is a balance between something like this where you got a flap that comes up and then you got to pull out your gun or your magazine.
Yeah.
So the advantage of this is it holds your mag in place. But
I would say if you have these, because I've seen plenty of officers who have worn mag pouches just like this for longer than I've been a police officer, and they still, when they go to do calls and stuff, they're like fidget with it, like they don't know how to get it open.
Yeah.
If you're gonna use something like this, you need to train with it to know, like what's the motion and how that kind of thing to get it open and open quickly and efficiently, and all that stuff. Because this, I just grab it and pull it out. I don't have to
and you can index directly off that magazine versus off this one. You can
still
still index, but then you got to flop it out.
And then you got to fight this flap and everything.
Yeah.
So I like these, and the flap handcuff pouches aren't that bad.
It's not something you'd have to get in a hurry necessarily. Oh, absolutely. I'm not about to clean those things.
Yeah, very rarely do you need to get handcuffs out like super quick.
Yeah.
It's obviously happened before, but obviously most of the time if you need handcuffs, just kind of like a thought out thing, like, all right, put your hands behind your back, man, you're going to jail, whatever, you got a warrant, whatever you got. But like when you need another mag. You need another mag.
You need another mag now.
So you need it really quickly, like right now, like 5 minutes ago now.
Yeah.
So I like these. If you're going to run these, I would just say monitor the retention. They're high quality. Obviously, it's Safari Lens, high quality pouch. It's not just going to break on you or anything like that. But they do, just the nature of the design, they are going to
get loose over time.
If they get snagged on something, they'll pop out and that kind of thing. You just got to watch them and keep the retention tight.
I'm sure you could remove the screw and put some Loctite on it or something.
Yeah, if you wanted to lock in, keep the retention from loosening, just find the perfect place retention wise and just Loctite it in there or anything. That's just about all I got.
All right, so
I've rambled on for long enough.
All right, normally I'm the rambler, so I'm proud. My belt setup is different because everything on my belt except for one thing, the tourniquet, is all department issued, and we're not allowed to use our own stuff. So basically, what I have is what they issue me. I'll start with the left side and work my way towards the gun. So first, I just have it's standard leather double mag pouch, and I have 2 mags in there. I orient them forward because that's the right way to index whenever you're drawing. Again, like you said, these are way faster than this, and even though I practice a lot with these things, it's still obnoxious to try to get this flap out of the way and then index properly because you're fighting this flap the entire time, so it's super obnoxious. Now, granted, if you have to end up rolling around on the ground or something, like these are going to hold more in place. Now, I will say, that's not always true because whenever I'm getting out of the vehicle in a hurry, a lot of times my seatbelt will pop this sucker off, and so I'll get out of the car and this will hang up on it, and I'm not going to sit there and it'll hang on and let me refasten my belt. So I might get out in a hurry and this just be flopping all over the place. So at that point, I'm probably going to lose my mag if I end up on the ground or whatever. So just kind of a side note. I use keepers all over the place on mine because one, I hate my duty belt like shifting.
It's super this big around.
Yeah, I'm literally this big around, tactical toothpick. But you're welcome. So I like having keepers pretty much around every single thing. 1, it keeps everything in place, and 2, it keeps my belt from riding up or down wherever it's at. It keeps everything kind of there. One thing, the kind of difference between these and like a war belt or people going to the range and everything is we sit in vehicles pretty much all day long, and your war belt might be different than this because this you are literally sitting all the time. So if you're sitting in a car all day long, how you set up everything matters because it's going to be super uncomfortable, and you don't want to be sitting with giant, something sticking out your lower back.
For example, I'm not as skinny as you.
Yeah.
So when I first worked for your department back in the day,
I was his boss.
one day a week, you're my boss.
Yep.
So
Still counts.
my first day, I had my mag pouches on my belt like this.
Yep.
And the bottom of these mag pouches dug into my leg so bad it hurt. And halfway through the shift, I had to take my belt off and change it.
Yeah.
To be sideways.
Yeah, you can orient.
Because I couldn't sit in a car for 8 hours or 12 hours like this digging into my leg. And a lot of the times, it's me personally, it's my body type and all that kind of stuff because I'm fat and all that. But like this interfaces. You have to think about how it interfaces with your body armor too.
Yes.
So all of this is fine. All this doesn't really mess with my body armor at all. My flashlight and my mag pouches do. Sometimes, like my flashlight will kind of work its way under my vest, and I'll just kind of pop it back out.
Yeah, because whenever you're sitting in a car, you're more hunched forward whenever you're driving, so everything that's sticking up here is going to interfere with your vest.
And these sometimes I'll make sure they'll kind of pop it back out because kind of lean forward because it's just
kind of tuck your vest underneath it.
Yep. When you're sitting in a car for 12 hours a day. Yep. So you just got something to think about with that. A lot of the stuff you're not going to know unless you just try it.
Yeah. Well, and that's the same thing as like a war belt versus like one of these things too. It's the same thing. If you're wearing like a plate carrier, say your department lets you wear plate carriers all the time. And you have it on the outside, you got to make sure to put all that stuff on and go sit in your car and make sure everything doesn't just get stuck on everything else.
Because
I moved around stuff on my belt probably 3 or 4 times.
I've never actually worn an external carrier that I could attach gear to. I have an external carrier for work, but it's like a dress one that that doesn't have any molly or anything like that. Yeah. It's basically been made to blend in with your uniform.
It looks like a uniform, but it's a vest.
So, I imagine those dudes that have the privilege of wearing stuff on their chest have trouble with getting their seatbelt off because I'm sure their seatbelt hangs up and all that stuff on their chest. So that's something to think about, making sure your seatbelt, when you hit the button, it'll just come off and it won't snag on all your stuff.
Pro tip, take off your seatbelt before you arrive.
Yeah. So the general rule is you're turning onto the street that the call is on, that's when the seatbelt comes off.
Yep.
So, yeah. So back to you.
Okay. So
back to you, Dave.
I started off with my mag pouch sideways because whoever set it up for me whenever I first started was like, oh yeah, it's going to dig into your stomach and all that kind of stuff. Now, granted, I'm skinnier than all the people that set up my stuff initially, so I didn't have that problem.
Third of the weight of everyone else in your department.
Yes. So I actually shifted it back up because it doesn't interfere with my chest or anything, or with my vest or anything, and it doesn't dig into my leg because I'm skinny. So this works fine for me, and this is a lot faster to draw from than whenever it was sideways, and I'm kind of flopping the little mag or this little flap out of the way, and I'm trying to grab it at an awkward angle. It was super weird. So if you can, put it vertical, don't put it horizontal. Moving on, I have a key keeper here. Again, this is what the issue. I've actually, side note, had these things break. I use these things so often, and the little hinge on here snapped off on I think 2 different ones. So I don't know. Don't buy these, I guess. The tourniquet is my own. I don't remember the name of the company that makes it, but these things are roughly like $40. Buy the nice one that has
like
the Blade Tech or Lock Tech.
Q or something, isn't it? It has like...
I don't remember. I just know they're like $40.
Yeah.
So if it's $40, odds are you're probably getting the right one. But again, it holds the tourniquet in place. This is not department issued. This is my own. And make sure you, side note about the tourniquets, pre-stage it to where it opens easily and where you can get it basically with one hand, because you never know, you might not be able to use the other arm that you're using. My department does issue pepper spray sometimes. It's basically if the officer wants it. I'm more of I have room on my belt and I'd rather have something, have it, not need it, than need it, not have it. So it's there. I don't think I'll ever probably use it.
Avoid the pepper spray discussion in this take?
Yeah, let's avoid that. Okay, so long story short, make sure you know the advantages and disadvantages of the type of pepper spray you use, because all of them have their advantages and disadvantages. I doubt I would ever use the pepper spray, but again, it's just an option that I have.
I would not.
Yeah, you're probably just gonna get it's gonna get used on you somehow or one way.
You're gonna get it too.
You're gonna get it on yourself.
Whoever you give it
somehow.
to is gonna give it back in some form or fashion.
Yes. On here we have some 1990s technology that actually I will say works pretty well on rifles
Until you put it on a pistol.
until you put it on a pistol. So this is what my department issues to put on a pistol. This is a full-size light. So this light's, I don't really have any complaints about the light itself. It's an Eagle Tac, I think is the name of the company. It doesn't even say on there. It's underneath this mount. This mount is actually, I think, made by Safariland.
Yeah, this is Safariland.
So they still make these. I'm surprised. It's an older design, but it's designed to be put onto your gun like this, and then you pull it up to the side, and then it locks in place, and it has a little slot right here that locks into the little Picatinny mount or whatever on the bottom side of your gun. And so it's off to the side, and your gun's over here. So it's super obnoxious. It's in the way of your thumb. If you have a proper grip, you really can't get a proper grip anymore because it's in the way. And also under recoil, they fall off. So after about 3 or 4 rounds, it slowly works its way loose, and it slowly works its way forward, and then it plops off the end of the gun. And that happens with simunition guns too, which shows kind of how junky of a design this is. But I use this thing as for looking around, like whenever I work on the midnight shifts, or which I don't work midnight shifts anymore, thankfully. I work at days, but so I don't use this thing nearly as often. But I use this as just my regular flashlight. Absolutely, if you can get a weapon mounted light, get a weapon mounted light.
There's no reason to not have a weapon mounted light unless you're you. And your department won't let you.
If your department won't let you, then I guess you're stuck with whatever you got. But my department won't let me use weapons mounted lights because we use these holsters and blah 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 politics. So anyways, but one of the things I've noticed is whenever this is your only weapons light, and again going into disadvantages, these, whenever we do training a lot of the times, and people will pull out these flashlights to put on the Sims guns because it's a darker environment, their flashlights 9 times out of 10 are dead because they use this as a regular flashlight all the time, and now they have no weapons light when they actually need one.
It's not their fault.
It is their fault because they should be checking their batteries.
Right, but the department forces them to use that.
Forces them to use that
instead of having a dedicated weapon light.
Yes, so that's the disadvantage. If you don't have a dedicated pistol light on your pistol, then you need to check your batteries a lot.
And also, when it comes to light, hashtag all the lumens.
All the lumens. You want. If someone says, "Oh, 1,000 lumens is too bright," you don't need that. They're wrong. Again, not gonna fight you. They're wrong. I've said that in the last video too, so maybe we'll get some haters. Again, this, I will say one advantage, and this is how I would use this. If you're gonna use it on a rifle, like if your rifle has Picatinny rail on it, again because older designs, this will mount on a Picatinny rail and actually pull up to the side on an AR where your thumb is actually in the right spot. So it actually works really nice on a, say like an M&P Sport. If you put like a quad rail on the front of it, it actually works really perfect, and that's what I would use this for. And then I just wouldn't use a pistol light, I guess, because I don't have one at that point. But at that point, if I'm going from a rifle to a pistol,
get your phone out.
Yeah, I'll get my phone out. Well, I carry what was it, the Streamlight little small rechargeable USB one. It's like 250 lumens or something. So I guess in theory I could go FBI or whatever this and
Harry's.
The Harry's grip. So I could do that, I guess, if I needed to. But long story short, put a weapon light on your light and get a holster for it. So anyways, but this just clamps on this little side rail right here. And then it just folds off to the side and it locks in place. So I don't have a problem with this as just a normal light. I have a problem with it as a weapons light. Handcuffs. This is super dusty. And I highly doubt I would ever use... it's stuck in there. I would highly doubt I ever use these cuffs for really anything.
Why not, Blake? Tell us about it.
Because I don't have arrest authority unless it's a felony. My department's a weird kind of in the middle. We're commissioned through the state security, so we go through a lot of the same firearms instruction, qualification kind of stuff, but we're also still privatized. We're not LE, so we can arrest, but basically kind of the same thing as a citizen's arrest, more or less. But long story short, I wouldn't also have legal protection that he does if I were to do so. So handcuffs probably are never going to get used, and my department policy is, and I won't get into that either. But I still have the handcuffs in case I ever need them. Or if he shows up and he needs a spare set of cuffs, I can still give him at least these.
Third pair of cuffs.
Third pair of cuffs. But these are the chain linked together ones, which I don't like as much. Now they're nicer if you need, like, the dude's not flexible.
Right.
And like his arms, he's so muscular or whatever.
Or he's tree fitty and...
Yeah, or he's really fat and he can't move his arms back and his arms only get this close together. Well, it's nice to have a little bit of extra reach, so there's advantage to that. Next on here, I have a baton holder. Now, I will absolutely not suggest you ever get a leather baton holder because loosey-goosey. Thing falls right out, and if I were to roll around the ground, this thing's coming out. Now, granted, it's a collapsible baton. I guess it's nice. Again, I'd rather have it than not need it, not have it.
I'll also warn you about ever pulling your baton on another person because...
The legalities of this.
And
scary.
basically, the only place you can hit him with it is the legs.
You can hit them in like their large, they're like where their femur is, basically their upper leg or upper arm.
And
because otherwise it's lethal force.
this will get snatched out of your hands so
100%.
fast.
Yeah.
And then they'll be hitting you with it.
Yeah.
And I have seen that on video. Exactly, officers.
It's-
They'll be waylaying somebody that's high on PCP or whatever,
And that doesn't do anything.
They're not feeling this at all,
But you're going to.
You're about to.
So
they'll
yes.
snatch this thing out of your hands and they'll start using it on you.
Yes, it's the whole, like, the reason my department has it is the whole escalation of force. They want us to be able to start as low as possible because, again, we're not police. So they want us to be able to start as low as possible with pepper spray, or I guess technically hands first, and then pepper spray, and then up to here, and then gun. But
Officer presence first.
oh yeah, reality.
Voice commands.
Reality. If I can't control, and this guy was kind of, I mean, really for police too, I would say, if you can't control them with your mouth or your hands, you probably are going to end up going for taser, and you're just going to bypass this stuff even if you had it.
Well, probably.
Yeah. So pepper spray and baton.
For the aforementioned reasons.
Yeah. Like, there's really no reason to go to these unless for some reason your department makes you, or in some weird circumstance.
Yeah.
You'd probably go mouth, hands, taser, gun. Like, realistically. So, again, I have keepers all over the place because I like my belt not moving.
But we're not lawyers.
We're not lawyers. Don't take our word as gospel. Look up local laws. If you're a cop, your local laws still apply.
Department policy.
Department policy, all that kind of stuff. So, again, disclaimer, we're not lawyers. I use, for our department, they issue Serpa holsters, so there's that.
Point laugh.
Point laugh. Some of y'all may like Serpa holsters, and there's not... The design itself has flaws. One, it's really easy for this button to get clogged up with stuff.
They're actually they're quality holsters. As in materials.
They're quality in materials. Blackhawk makes pretty decent stuff. The problem is with the design itself.
And the location.
Yes, in the location. So with Glocks, it's not as bad of an issue as with other guns because of where this is. So whenever I draw, my finger is up here on the frame.
Which was the point.
Which was the point. So whenever you press in, you're straight on top. The problem with a lot of other gun designs is where this is located is whenever you come in, your finger is more over the trigger guard. So that's the problem. It's not necessarily an issue with Glocks. A lot of it is a training issue. Right. I will give it that. If you train often enough under stress, you can kind of mitigate that, but it's still a risk because if under stress, if you push this in, if you're trying to pull...
It's an unnecessary risk considering there are better holster options out there.
There is no reason to buy this holster. There are better holsters out here. But if you're stuck with this holster, train with it a lot to mitigate the risk. So whenever you're trying to pull on here, let's say this is a level 3, so it has a hood. So you pop the hood. Whenever you draw, if for some reason you're not pushing hard enough or you're pushing in the wrong spot and you're pulling, and then you try to push on here, mine will release because it's so worn out. But on a new one, when it's properly maintained, you're gonna pull. If you pull on here and you push, you won't be able to release the button. You're gonna lock it up. So you're gonna try to push further like this, and eventually maybe you'll get, and then you run into the issue of now my finger going into the trigger guard here. So that's the inherent flaw with Serpa holsters, along with the fact that stuff can get in here and literally lock up your gun where you can't release your gun out of your holster. So if you happen to wrestle with some guy on the ground in the gravel or something, and dirt or gravel or whatever gets locked in this mechanism, which I've seen videos happening, so it's a thing, that's a problem. Versus something like this, where you only have the mechanism on the interior, you're a lot less likely to get stuff inside your holster. And then I keep my badge over here, but I took it off there because that badge is basically a paperweight, doesn't mean anything. Do you have any other thoughts or anything? No?
I think that's about it.
Alright, so this is our specific, I guess, duty.
This is going to be a pretty niche video.
Yes.
I don't
so
think
this
there's
won't
gonna be a lot
apply
of people that's going to... I don't foresee this video getting a lot of views.
No, probably not. A lot of you out there, you don't work in security, you don't work in as law enforcement, so this may not apply to you. But you can still... A lot of the stuff that we covered in here still applies to, like, war belts. Or, tactical belts, whatever you want to call them. So even on that aspect, again, you want to try out your stuff. Go sit in a car. Go whatever you would think you would be normally doing in whatever situation. Go try it out and make sure it doesn't interfere with the other gear, all that other kind of stuff. One thing I'll also say is his holster has an advantage over mine. It has old-fashioned belt clip. So on here you got two little hooks that hook onto this bar, and once those hook in place, then there's this little hole right here, and it goes all the way along so you can adjust it for size. Fits over this little nub. I don't know if you can see that or not. There's a nub, locks in place, and then this slides over the top. This thing will pop off all the time. Like, it's usually only held in place by this little nub with a little hole through it. So, I guess that's just kind of a side note. But anyways, all right. So I don't have anything else. Do you have anything else?
Nope.
All right. So hopefully you'll enjoy this video. If nothing else, even if it didn't apply to you, maybe you found it entertaining. Sure, fine. But hopefully y'all hit that subscribe button. Give us a like, comment below. I usually reply to just about every comment that everyone comments on, or at least like it. So try to have good discussions down in the comments below. But anyways, if you have any questions, let us know. If you have any video ideas, let us know. We'd be happy to do them, assuming we have whatever it is that you're suggesting, or we can get it easily,
Halo
or it's
gun.
cheap. Yeah. Yeah, we'll do a review of my 3D printed Halo gun here in a little while, sure. But anyways, have a good one, guys.